So this is how to remove the power steering pump from a 1997 Toyota Camry. So the first thing you want to do is you want to use something like this to remove the power steering fluid from the reservoir here, and so you don't have as much dropping onto the floor. So once you've got the power steering fluid out, then you can start working down below. You need to have you get to the power steering pump mainly through the wheel well. There's a plastic panel here which you can remove, which helps a lot. And obviously you need the car jacked up and secure and the wheel off. So then you can start removing. You need to remove 2 pipes and 2 screws. So one of the first things you can do is take the I think it's the return pipe. You can remove that. So that's secured with this bolt here, which I think it's 12 millimeters, and then the pipe actually goes in through this hole here. This is a new pump I'm holding, a replacement. You have to get a screwdriver in to sort of prise it off, so it's handy if you've got like a really small thin one to get it started and then a bigger one to just prise it off. The other pipe you need to get off, this actually might be the return pipe. That might be, is that the like high pressure pipe there? I'm not sure which is which. Anyway, the other pipe that goes in the top, that's, you have to remove this bolt, or this valve thing, whatever it's called, I don't know. I think it's got a sensor built into the top as well. There's a wire goes in. So I had a bit of a problem trying to get this, the electrical lead off this. If you look really closely, you can see a little bump there. And the way you get it off is you, at the very top of the electrical connector, the very top of the plastic piece that slots over the top of this, you have to press in, and then that levers a plastic tab which levers it off this bump, and then you can pull it off. So you just got to fiddle around until you find that little point at the very top of the plastic where you can squeeze it and get it out. And then the best way to get this out is a deep 24 millimeter socket, because it'll clear the top of the connector. So you actually can, if you use an extension like this, a very long, I don't know how long that is, it's maybe a foot, you can actually get it from the top of the car, and it comes off fairly easily. When you get these pipes off, it's worth just taking a small plastic bag and putting it over the end with an elastic band just to secure it, stop dirt from getting in. I've got one. Whoops! I've got one. You can see the one I've done here. It's all sealed off. It's pretty dirty under there, so it's handy to stop the dirt getting in. Okay, so now you've got the pipes off. The next thing you need to do is you need to get the 2 bolts out which are holding this. Now, this is sort of how it sits in the car. If you imagine with respect to the ground, it's sort of about this angle. Well, it's exactly that angle, because this U-shaped piece of metal, this bracket, this U-shaped hole at the top of the bracket, I think it's pretty vertical. I think it is. Okay, anyway, So you need to, there's a bolt that goes all the way through here into the captivated nut at the back, and there's another one which goes through the slider here, and you tighten it up once you've got the tension correct on your belt. This one's really fairly easy to get off. It's this bolt here. I don't know what that is. Is that a 12mm? Yeah, that's a 12mm. So I think both of the bolts you need to get off are both 12mm. That's a big clue, because what you don't want to be doing, which I did actually, is taking out all these other bolts. So if you look at it like this, there's actually another 2 bolts which you might mistake for bolts that you need to take out to get the pump off. You want to leave those in until you got the pump out, and then it's much easier to deal with. So there's only 2 bolts. This one you'll find really easily. This one is more difficult. It's at the front. It's sort of directly above the pulley, and it's 12mm. That's a big clue. It's not, these are 14mm. So you need to find that 12mm bolt at the very top. Now you don't, all you need to do, you need for this, you need really a good 12mm wrench. So I think this is the one I used, because you've got to clear these nuts here. So a flat one doesn't really do it, and this has got a nice bend in it, and it's a fairly high quality wrench. I started using a socket, and it was a poor quality socket, and I was starting to round off. It slipped, and I think I was starting to round it off a little bit. So you need to be careful with that. Make sure you don't mess up the head of the bolt. So once you've got it undone, you're going to back it out of this captivated nut here. Once you've done that, it should, I think it should just drop down then, because you're loose here. It's not applying any pressure to this U here. It's out of that hole. So once you've just got it out a little bit, the whole thing should just drop out. Once you've done that, you can you want to remove the pulley here. So I put the whole thing in a vise to hold it still, and then I just jammed to stop. You have to stop the wheel from rotating, so you can just jam something like this into one of these holes. That's enough to stop and if you've got a vise, it's really helpful to hold it in the vise using this bracket here, and then you can get this nut off. It's a little bit tricky to get well, not really. I mean, to get this pulley wheel off, I just tapped it on each side a little bit, and for me it just came off. Once you've got those off, you need to loosen all these bolts here for the brackets. Again, it's handy to have a vise to hold the thing in when you're trying to get these out. You need they're a bolt and a nut, so you need 2 wrenches or 2 sockets and ratchets. There's 1, 2, 3. Oh, so these 2 are bolts and nuts, and this one's just a bolt. So just loosen them all off, and then you know, match it up against your new where's my old one? So here's the old one. So you know, when you're swapping it over, just keep everything in place, and then just swap it all over. I've actually done this in the wrong order. You want to put the brackets onto the new pump first, and then, because it gives you lots of space to access these nuts, tighten it all up. Then once you've got the bolts on and they're in place and tightened, then put the pulley on. That's about as far as I've got. So yeah, I think hopefully the tricky part's all done now. I'm hoping that the reassembly is going to be fairly straightforward. So that's it really. Thanks for watching.